Hey y'all, this is episode number 34 and my next conversation with an interesting person. Today I'm talking to my friend Joe G, who is a musician and created the intro music that you will be hearing momentarily. We get into politics, religion, Star Wars, and pop culture. It's about a 2-hour long conversation, so a bit longer than my conversations have normally gone. And there is a bit of language, not a whole lot, but a few words sprinkled throughout the conversation that some might find offensive. So fair warning on that. If you're in the Austin area and you're looking to have your TV mounted on the wall, your sound system upgraded, or anything to do with your entertainment system, hit up Bat City TV. Let them know the Sovereign Individual podcast sent you, and they will hook you up with a discount. And thank you once again to Flavorade and my good friend Joe G for creating the intro music that you're about to hear. Their EP, All My Life, is available on Spotify and wherever you listen to music. And as Joe says in this episode, they've got a show coming up on September 6th. The venue is yet to be determined. So hope you enjoy that and hope you enjoy this conversation with an interesting person. What's up, y'all? This is the Sovereign Individual podcast, and today we have another conversation with an interesting person. My guest today is the creator of the intro music that you've heard so many times, one of the frontmen of Flavorade, along with multiple other bands. So, great musician, a good friend of mine. Goes by the name of Joe G, or Joseph Gardner if you're being formal. Welcome.
Heyo.
How you doing, my man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Thank you for making the intro music as well.
Absolutely.
Very solid. I've got a longer version that you made that I'm going to edit some clips from the show into.
Oh, yeah?
Eventually. Yeah, probably soonish. I think I've reached a point where I've got enough different things that I could throw on there.
Yeah, let me know if you need like a remix.
Ooh, okay.
Extended version, something like that.
We could do that for sure. So what's new? What's going on in the music world right now?
I'm actually doing a show tonight. I don't know when this is going to air, but it's Saturday.
Okay.
Probably not today, though.
Probably not today, no.
So if you're listening to this, I will have done a show. It's a Radiohead cover show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which group is this with?
Well, I'm actually playing with another group called Color Candy.
Oh, okay.
And I've kind of been playing with them a little bit lately. They did a Alanis Morissette cover album. Album cover like a month or so ago.
Okay.
And I've been friends with these people for a while, but they hit me up. They wanted me to play guitar. And it went really well.
Nice.
It would have been my first choice of music to play.
Not a big Alanis Morissette fan?
Well, I didn't realize how many hits that she had on that one record.
She really did.
Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, I know all these songs.
Yeah.
I swear there was like 6 songs probably 5 or 6 that I like really popular songs.
Yeah, because
that was impressive.
You had pretty much all of us were listening to radio back then, so like all of
it really reminded me of being at the public pool in the mid 90s.
Oh man, yeah. Whenever we would go, we had like a community pool. We had like a gated community, and there's a community pool. And whenever we went, my friend's dad would always bring a radio, but he always played classic rock. So like that's what I always think of with community pools. The Eagles or Journey or somebody that playing Aerosmith.
I think of like Third Eye Blind.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I heard this song recently, Ricky Martin, Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh, man.
And when I was a kid, I really liked that song.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, Adam played it for me the other day. He's like, dude, I forgot how good this song is. I was like, yeah.
Dude, it is. It's a solid one. I had a buddy, one of my best friends in the world, Tony, for the longest time, like throughout high school and into college. He had like you call leave a voicemail, and you can either have like a message or like you just record what your name is, and it'll say please leave a message for, and then it has the recording of you saying your name.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time it was just like Ricky Martin. It was just like that was Tony for you. That's
classic
cool.
Tony.
Yeah, classic Tony. Okay, cool. So you got that. Where are y'all playing tonight?
It's at Barracuda. Place that used to be Red 7 back in the day.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, right there in the little, what do they call that district? Red River District, right? Yeah. That's right. Okay, cool.
Crack District.
Crack District, yeah. Spice District, K2 District.
Man, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's going on over there, but There's like an alley behind Beerland, so basically right off of Red River between like 7th and 8th or so.
So right there by the arch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, people like, even cops don't even want to go back there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like apparently this free roaming society of prostitution and drug dealing.
Damn.
It's like a whole thing.
It's bad. Yeah. It's gotten really bad over there because it's just drug dealers can just go target these people because they know they're all going to be there by the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty disturbing.
Yeah. Well, and it's especially weird because it's right in the middle of like a very like heavy like what do you call it, foot traffic area.
Yeah, I mean it's really like, if not the main cultural district of downtown. I mean, obviously there's other places, but you know, 6th Street and Red River, that's like the music. Yeah,
you basically
area.
can go straight down Red River and onto Dirty Six pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just kind of like an L shape of lots of stuff. So yeah, that's that'll be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic down there.
It is very much so. It's kind of I don't know. I
mean, when I'm walking around down there, I'm just like super aware at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to.
Because I've heard some stories. There was like a band loading out of a place, and some dude just came and asked the guy for some money, and he was like, "No, I don't have any money," and he like knocked him out.
Damn. Yeah, you got to be on your toes down there, and it's just, I mean, not even just with like the homeless population there too. There's been like a lot of big shootings and stuff down on 6th Street as well.
I actually got into a minor altercation.
Let's hear this.
So we did this gig last year, I think, at Mohawk, and we covered the Pixies' Doolittle album, my band Shark Rider.
Okay. Yeah.
Super fun show, super packed. And afterwards, me and Gabby, my girlfriend, went to get some pizza at Hoboken.
Yeah, right down the street there.
And I'm standing there, and we're waiting for pizza, or we're waiting to order. Mm-hmm. And a guy comes up to me, just like some nerdy hipster douchebag. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm going to cut in front of you." I'm like, "No, you're not."
That's not how this works.
No. And so I just kind of stepped in front of him, put my back to him. And he's like, "Well, hey, what if I told you that I'm just picking up my pizza and I already ordered? You don't got to be a dick about it." I'm like, "Oh, really? Like how you walked up and just started being a dick to me?"
Yeah.
And then he grabs his pizza and vegan breadsticks. I'm like, "Oh, of course this guy's got vegan breadsticks." I mean, I don't have any problem with veganism. It's just at the time I felt like I needed to make fun of this guy.
It's a good burn at the time.
He just looked like the type of douchebag who tries to cut in line and then he's like, "Oh, do you have any vegan breadsticks?"
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Tries to cut.
It's a pizza place on the street. Whatever. It's a changing society.
Yeah.
You got to have options for everyone. So he walks away and I yelled something pretty inflammatory at him.
Okay.
And so then we order our stuff and we have like a 20-minute wait because we're waiting for a whole pizza.
Damn.
And Gabby is like, "Hey, let's go get a drink at this bar next door." And that dude and his buddy, who was like a bouncer from Barbarella, like a big dude, wearing a Barbarella shirt, they were standing there, and the dude was just like fuming. Like he was just standing there like, and I'm like, "Gabby, I don't think we should go in there. Like, let's just get away from this situation."
Yeah.
She's like, "It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do anything." It's like, all right, whatever. So we start to walk in. That guy goes, "Can I curse on this show?"
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go,
he goes, "You better not take another fucking step, man." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, or what? What are you going to do about it?" And then I just feel, I was like, what the hell just happened? And I was really confused. And I didn't even realize it at first because my glasses got knocked off because I just started wearing glasses at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what just happened? Did this guy hit me? Because I didn't feel any pain. I'm like, am I that drunk? And then the, what's his name? Like the door guy at that bar was like, no, not here, not at my bar. And the dude ran away.
Really?
And I realized what happened was he threw his pizza at me.
What?
Yeah, he threw like his whole plate of food at me. And they're gone, and there's like pizza and vegan breadsticks all over the ground.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, I didn't threaten that guy.
No.
You know, I just yelled at him.
No, yeah.
And he felt compelled to waste all of his pizza and breadsticks that he got into this whole scenario for. So ultimately, I feel like
you won.
He lost.
Yeah, for sure. That's
because I didn't get hurt, and he did it. And he lost all his food.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, but when something like that happens, I don't want to get in a fight downtown.
No, you never know what.
And I'm with Gabby, and this guy's got another dude with him. It's like,
yeah.
There's really no good reason to get in a fight, especially downtown, though.
No, for sure.
Because I mean, you never know
what's going to happen.
You never know.
No.
Because also, it's easy for someone to just kind of run away and disappear.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're like at HEB and you get in a fight with someone, there's going to be witnesses and cameras, and there's not really anywhere to go. But downtown with the hustle and the bustle,
yeah. I mean, you could disappear into the crowd real quick.
yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's interesting. Yeah. Normally, whenever I confront people in public, I call them a jabroni, and usually, like, they're so taken aback by that insult and they're unsure of like how to react to it.
Because it's kind of funny.
Because they're like, wait, what did he just call it? Like, they're trying to determine how offensive
Am I
the word
mad?
is that I just
Should I be
used
mad about this?
to talk to them. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to call people out in public. But
yeah, I was feeling pretty confident after that show.
Yeah, I imagine.
I was like, hey, I'm a rock star. You're not going to cut in front of me.
Y'all were playing the Pixies. You might have had Fight Club on your mind,
Yeah.
That's cool. So, okay, so you're in Shark Rider, obviously Flavor Raid.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Was it Black and White is another one?
Black and White Years?
Black and White Years? Okay.
Yeah. That's a band that's been around for a while, and I've known those guys forever.
Okay.
And so I just sort of joined the band a couple years ago.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a hired gun in that project, but
yeah. And then helping out. What was this color? What was it?
Color Candy.
Color Candy.
They're pretty cool. They're like a alternative rock kind of band.
Yeah. Okay. That's dope. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of music.
Honestly, like this whole summer, like earlier this summer, I released an EP, for a Flavor 8 EP.
All My
Life.
Yeah.
And
that was a fun EP release party too.
Oh yeah,
that stuff.
Yeah. So since then, I've been really into fishing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
where do you go?
3 or 4 times a week this summer. I've been going fishing.
Like on the Greenbelt or like where?
I go to several different places: Lake Travis, Lake Austin, and then even Shoal Creek.
Really?
Believe
Okay.
it or not, there's like this one part by my house is like just this little sort of pool of the creek, and there's bass in there. I've been catching bass.
Really? Nice.
So if I don't have much time, I'll just go down there and just kind of dart around.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, I've been like obsessed with fishing.
That's dope.
I've just been watching videos, reading stuff about like what lures to use and where to target when it's hot and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool, man. I haven't been fishing in a minute, but I've always enjoyed it. And then like it was in the neighborhood I grew up in. There's a man-made lake, and like my house backed up to it, and a few of my friends did as well. And then there was also like a greenbelt area that you could go fishing on. It was catch and release, like you weren't allowed to keep anything. But so yeah, we'd fish all the time when I was a kid growing up. It was super fun. And then when you get a little bit older, you realize it's even more fun because you can like just kill a 6-pack during the day while you're doing it and just relax, and it's just nice and peaceful. And
well, the difference is when I first moved to Austin, I tried to fish a couple times, and it was kind of like that. I went out to the lake, just throw like a worm out there and drink. But I never caught anything, hardly at all.
Oh, okay.
So I went over the last like 10 years now I've lived here. I went like a dozen times, and I never caught anything. And so I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
And I beat the game, and I was playing online, and I don't know if you play games much, or if you know this game.
Yeah. I haven't played through that one yet.
But everyone was really excited about the online version to come out.
Yeah.
And when it did, it was kind of a slog. You know what I mean? Like really hard to make money.
Oh, okay.
And everything's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I realized that because they want you to buy money.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. They want you to use real money to buy fake money. Yeah.
So I realized fishing in the game makes you the most money. So I was having so much fun doing that, and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I doing this? Like, there's nothing left for me to buy in the game because they're like barely updating it,
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just really want to catch fish. So I started studying, because I'm like, all right, I've been out there. I just kind of aimlessly throwing stuff out. It feels like I'm getting nowhere. So I've just been like researching as much as I can. And I've caught maybe like 100 fish this summer.
Okay.
Maybe not that many, but a lot. A significant amount. Every time I go out, pretty much, I catch fish.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's solid.
So that's like incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's like, remember Ocarina of Time? There was a little fishing game or fishing part of that too.
Yeah.
Good time. Yeah. It is. I haven't been in far too long. So are you like, do you have any interest in like trying to do like some, out in the ocean, like?
Yeah, I would do that.
Fishing. Yeah. Nice.
Although the ocean does kind of freak me out.
It's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
Just like the further you get out there, I would when you can't see land, I feel like that would be a little bit uncomfortable.
Have you ever been out there?
Man, yeah, like when I did like the Navy stuff, I would get out there and then.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're in the Navy, of course.
Yeah. So that's a little bit different because you're on this massive ship,
sure.
so it's not quite the same, and it's the Navy, so people know exactly where we're at or where we're supposed to be. So if something were to happen, they'd be able to come help us pretty quick. But yeah, it's we went out. I went to the Bahamas a couple years back, and we were out on like a fishing boat. Or not like a fishing boat, just on a boat and out in the water. And it's beautiful water, like so clear. And we were like grabbing conch and some lobster and stuff. But yeah, it was one of those where I was like, we were always inside of land, so it felt like even if something went bad, land's not too incredibly far away.
I think it'd be cool to go scuba diving, like in a lake. Ooh. People do that in Lake Travis.
Really?
Yeah, we were out there once at this place, Windy Point Park,
and
apparently they had like a whole scuba area there. But we were there on the beach. The beach. There's no beach there. We were on the shore.
Yeah.
In the grass on the shore, and I see all these bubbles coming up out of the water. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then all these people.
Really?
Come up out of the water in scuba gear. It was bizarre because we just see stuff start bubbling out. I was like, "What is happening?"
What is going on?
It was really bizarre because I didn't know it was a scuba place, and so all these people. But I was like, that would be kind of cool because there's got to be crashed boats down there.
Oh, for sure.
Probably find like people's wallets and phones and watches.
I'm sure
stuff like that.
All kinds of stuff.
And then some monster catfish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably some big ones down there. That would be cool.
Yep.
I've never gone diving before. I feel like it would be cool. I think that's crazy how people would go like underwater cave diving though.
Oh no,
that's just,
dude, that freaks me out.
Like, man, spelunking when you're not in water sounds terrifying enough. And like, no, thank you. But then you're throwing water into it. So it's like not only could you die, like, spelunking, you get stuck and die.
Oh man!
But there, it's like, so you get stuck and then you also drown.
I would rather like just straight up get eaten by a shark.
Oh, 100%.
Or even just like get bit by a shark and then bleed out. that to me would be 1,000 times better than getting stuck in an underwater cave.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or like you're not even stuck, but you realize you're running out of oxygen and you can't swim up super fast.
There's nowhere to go. Yeah.
Oh man, even talking about it right now is like giving me anxiety.
Yeah. It's got my blood flowing a little
terrible.
bit. Yeah, I can't imagine how people do that. That's just crazy.
Yeah, some people, man, they're just wired differently.
It's
like
true.
People who go to space.
I would go to space though.
Yeah, but
like,
well, okay, maybe, you were in the Navy. I'm sure you had to deal with more,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did the submarine?
Yeah, stuff. That's right, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not me. I like to be comfortable.
For sure. The sub wasn't incredibly uncomfortable, but yeah, I could see like if you're any bit claustrophobic, like you can't walk down a hall, like the hall. Two people can't walk down the same hallway. Like one of them has to stand and let the other pass.
In the submarine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So and some of the surface ships too. Like it's just space is kind of tight. You gotta compact everything and make it able to fit in this thing that can float on the water. I've never been on a carrier, but I heard those are like they're just floating cities basically. They have their own zip codes, and they've got like big gyms. So those are, I think, a little bit easier to do. But yeah, people are definitely wired differently.
Yeah,
it's but yeah, the underwater, yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll pass.
Not for me. There's a lot that I think I would do just for fun, but that wouldn't be one of them.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm at Barton Springs, I'll try to dive all the way down to the bottom. There's like one spot that's really deep.
Oh yeah.
You can see everything, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it always messes up my ears.
Yeah, man, it messes with like, and that's what's crazy too is you're going down like 10 feet maybe,
right?
Maybe 10 to 15, somewhere in that range, and your ears are already messing that up that much. Yeah. So it's like, you go down if you're diving and you're really getting deep. Do they is there ear protection? How do they, or is it just you're going so
scuba people?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's like a wetsuit, right? With the part that goes over your head.
Yeah.
Kind of like what a knight would wear, but it's
yeah. But
it's like what's it made out of? Spandex?
Or
latex?
Like latex probably.
Nylon?
Yeah, something like that. Something. Yeah. I don't know what it's made of either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always curious to me. Is like, I feel like my ears would go nuts.
Yeah.
Diving down like that, and then you come up too fast and you get the like nitrogen bubbles going. And
yeah. So you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So let's see well, first of all, you used to have like a podcast.
Oh yeah.
That you had me on back in the day, which is a lot of fun. So is that something that you and like John or anybody have ever thought of like trying again at some point? Or
yeah, I do want to do something else. Mm-hmm. I'm still into music, but I've been in this town for 10 years, and when I was like 20 or a teenager or whatever, I kind of was like, all right, I'm gonna dedicate my 20s to just that as my goal.
Like music, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, I'll start thinking about an alternative career. Because my parents and other people would be like, well, you should have a backup plan. I'm like, a backup plan? What do you mean? I'm the best. What do I need a backup plan for?
I'm gonna be touring the world.
Yeah. I mean, turns out it's a lot harder than I thought. Yeah. And when I was younger, there was an appeal to the idea of being famous, which I don't necessarily feel drawn to now.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I still would like to be able to make plenty of money off of music or play big shows and stuff like that, but like being a celebrity, not that that's a practical thing to aspire to, but it's very unappealing to me now.
For sure, because it's like, I mean, even like you would be able to maybe get to a point where you're like, like you said, paying your bills, you're able to like live comfortably off of what you're doing music wise, but you could still be at a point where it's like you go out and it's not 100% that somebody's going to recognize you.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I couldn't imagine going out and there's 100% chance somebody's going to recognize me. Like, that would be, that would be such a mental stress, I feel like.
Yeah, and really that, in a certain way, is a good, it can be a good part. You can't like it. It could be good for, like an ego boost or something like that.
Yeah.
But the part that would freak me out is when everyone turns on you.
Yeah. Which almost inevitably happens to a degree.
Yeah. I think
you're like Tom Hanks.
I think it depends on how you present yourself.
Yeah.
I think how you present yourself in the public eye depends on whether or not you'll get in trouble or how you'll get in trouble.
I think it's also, too, if what you're presenting is genuine or not.
Right.
Because people sniff it out real quick when you're presenting something that's not your true self.
Yeah.
And
like if I somehow became, marginally famous, even just in town.
Yeah.
Under a persona of being super serious and, like whatever.
Yeah.
But not being jokey. And then someone hears me make some comment, like in a secret recording. Or this is, someone finds me on this show. Yeah. And they're like, oh, he made fun of vegan breadsticks.
It's time to cancel Joe G.
If I had ever made people think that I wasn't the type of person who would make a joke like that, then I'd be like, oh, I'm very sorry. I retract those comments.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. But at this point, it's like, no.
Yeah.
If you like what I do, then, that would make sense to you.
Yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite comedians is Bill Burr.
I love Bill Burr, man.
Yeah. And, every time someone will be like, oh, so, you got into some hot water on Twitter recently. He's like, oh, really? I did? Like, with who? He's like, with 5 people, who are just trying to
who aren't going to be,
just ignore them and move on.
They're not going to be coming to buy tickets to a show anyway,
right.
Like, I love everything about Bill Burr because he's just, there's nothing, he's not going to apologize for anything. He's his genuine self.
There are definitely times where you should apologize for things.
Oh, for sure.
But if you wear it out, if you just apologize every time someone asks you to, then it doesn't mean anything.
Well, and if you apologize for something and you're not sincere about it, I think that's very clear too. And if don't ever apologize for something that, like you said, there's times where you should apologize, and there's times where like maybe you say something or do something, you realize, oh man, that was my bad. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're just like trying to apologize to appease some mob that's coming after you,
right?
That first of all, they're not going to forgive you, so there's no point in apologizing there. And then you're just going to look bad to the people who do like you because they're like, dude, why are you apologizing? Yeah, why are you apologizing for that?
And a lot of comedians and people nowadays will say everyone's too sensitive and everyone gets too offended and they complain too much. I think, sure, that's a thing. But I see just as much, if not more of an issue with how people react to that. You know what I mean? With how the celebrity in question or comedian or whatever. Okay. The way that they handle the situation when someone is super sensitive or super offended, I think that's where the problem is coming from.
Okay. Because, like in what way?
Well, by apologizing too much.
Okay. Yeah.
So, people have always been offended by things.
Yeah.
I don't know that people are more offended in general now than they used to be. Maybe some people are. Maybe it seems like they are because of Twitter and stuff like that.
I think that's what it is.
But the way that you react to it, if you're just going to bow down every time and give them what they want and just basically nullify your whole existence to appease the mob, like you said, then it's like you're giving them more power, and then they're just going to do it more.
Yeah.
So if the Twitter mob or people who, get offended by everything, if you just ignore them, it would probably die down.
They go away. Like they got mad at Chris Pratt for wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt because they were saying it was like white supremacist or what. Like, okay, first of all, like read your history. That's the founding fathers did that. But he just he didn't say anything about it, and then it goes away because they find something else to be upset about within a couple days. Yeah, and so it is one of those. Yeah, I think and the Twitter mob especially, or social media in general, it's like that's such a small, minuscule percentage of the population. And like I was saying, they're probably not your fans anyway. Yeah. So you're really not going to be losing money off of it. You only risk damaging yourself. And it's like, it's this tiny little, they're just very loud. I think that's what it is. I think it seems like people are more offended or more easily offended because we have more access to, like, when these people would be offended in the past, they would just complain to, like, the people close to them.
Exactly.
So only the people close to them would know, like, oh, okay, such and such is offended by something else again, like, oh, big whoop. But now they're able to broadcast it out and then connect with other people who are also offended by that specific thing and join up to where it feels like it's actually this larger group than it really is. They're super offended. They're motivated to find other people who are also offended by that thing. Yeah. And then they make their little mob.
It's like when we were kids, if I don't know, a new Blink-182 album came out. I'm just trying to think of something a time period that we grew up in. Yeah. If you or I really hated it, we would just tell each other, or our friends. Yeah. And maybe there was like music journalists who could write an article in Rolling Stone or something like that. Yeah. But now it's like if someone doesn't like something, they're sending death threats. They're like unearthing people's tweets from 10 years ago to try to, whatever. It's like, I don't even know how I would have sent a death threat.
Right? I would have never sought that out. I think it's a differing personality type too, because it's like, I don't know, you strike me as the same kind where it's like if something I don't like it or it offends me, I'm just like, all right, cool, I'm not gonna pay attention to that specific thing.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna ruin my day or anything. It's
I think people are super insecure. People who are really quick to lash out and criticize, kind of like how I'm criticizing the insecure people. Right? It's like a feedback loop of insecurity here.
the Vinda loop.
Those terrible people.
Yeah, who we're talking about. But it's just kind of a fascinating point in human history where we've got this like I almost feel like we're the last of humanity as like a normal thing. Like we're probably one of the last generations where like technology isn't just a part of us. Like it's already a huge part of our lives. It's probably going to become physically a part of us here within 30, 40 years, where they'll be legit like maybe reaching that singularity where there's a hybridization. People are getting all afraid of AI, but maybe it's a thing where you just kind of have these human AI robotic hybrids. I just feel like we're reaching a point where
like some kind of brain implant, like an augmented reality type of thing.
The Neuralink that old Elon Musk is talking about. He's working on stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure that only rich people will have that, and the rest of us will be like working in the mines.
Probably, maybe, but like also
like okay, our phones. Who makes our phones for the most part
is
children.
Yeah,
in China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, someone please tell me, but I'm pretty sure that that's
for the most
how
part.
It's going.
Yeah.
So they probably don't have iPhones.
Those ones, the ones that are making it, no.
Yeah.
But like an insane amount of the world population does.
Well, I know, but I mean, by the time that there's like an augmented reality implant that you can get in your brain, you think that just you and I are going to have those?
It could be because
I feel like we'll be making them and living in like
possibly, but also like you're
I feel like this world's going to be a hellscape really soon.
It could be, but I also feel like from a market standpoint, like you want to be able to reach the most amount of people with your product, because then you can get the most amount of engagement. Because if it's just something that only rich people, like there'll be certain people that cater to only rich people, but if that's all, like that runs dry, like you're so limited. But when you've got a population of 7 billion, if you can make it to where all of them can engage in this and be spending their money there, the amount of money that you can make is like exponentially more than if you're just catering to like the 1% or whatever.
Well, see, now that I'm thinking about it, because for a minute I was kind of
another couple ones real quick.
Yeah, okay. So I was thinking how first, like the AI, blah blah. It would be something that would make you almost like a superhuman,
Yeah.
Like let's say it can just do math for you, like you just I need to figure out this calculation or blah blah, and then it's boom, it just happens. Or you need to figure out directions somewhere, instead of looking at your phone, it just pops into your head or whatever. You can see it right in front of you. At first I was thinking, that would be like a superhuman enhancement that only rich people be able to afford. But now I'm thinking, think about how they can manipulate the information that you would see.
Yep.
Like if your physical brain is always connected to the internet, just like our phones, all of our ads and everything are tailored to even our conversations.
Yeah.
If that was in your actual brain, so maybe it would be more of like a forcing
Control.
you to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, like the RFID chips that they're going to want to eventually put in everybody and like all that kind of stuff. It's
now this is a libertarian podcast.
we made it here eventually. It only took about 30 minutes. It is one of those where it's like it kind of depends on the day as to whether I think the future is going to be this dystopian hellhole, or like it's going to be this really awesome thing where like automation like removes like the idea of scarcity and people are just able to like create without really having to worry about how to provide for themselves or something like.
Well, it already is a dystopian hellhole for a lot of people.
It is.
We're like on a shrinking island, like not necessarily physically, but like as people, like you and I as, like white dudes.
Well, yeah.
I'm saying we have like decades or centuries of oppression that our folks did that have kept us from being like, obviously not kept us from all hardships in life, but there's like a bubble, a bit of a bubble around us.
Oh, for sure. But it's also, and that's one of the things too. It's also like there's been when there's like the talk about oppression and stuff, like the main focus, like it gets kind of like pinned on straight white males or whatever, which is fair because predominantly that's what it's been. But you're also talking about like a very small percentage. Like the majority of straight white males have just been living in similar conditions. You know, like you couldn't like vote if you didn't own land even as a straight white male for the longest time. So it's like it's more of like an elite, like the super ultra elite, and the way that they abuse power against everybody. But
sure,
it's been it's been extrapolated into like, and I think it's been done by like the media because the elite like, you know, like to get out a certain agenda, and if it can make everybody mad at each other along lines of race and everything like that, instead of recognizing no, it's really all of us against these elite.
True, yeah.
And it's not even all of the elite. Like some of them are good people.
I'm with you on that we basically all have a common oppressor, which is the rich.
Mm-hmm.
But
and not even all of them,
just like
an
everyday simple way, like going and applying for a job.
Yeah.
Or getting pulled over by the police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we forget that other people, you know, however hard we think they should have to worry about it or not, the fact of the matter is they do.
Yeah.
And literally right now, anyone who's Mexican or Latino of any kind in the southern states, really depending on anywhere, maybe any conservative state, needs to be worried if they're born here or not.
Yeah.
About being just messed with.
There's people that
whether they're detained or whether they're arrested. There was a dude from Dallas recently who was born in Dallas. Yeah. And he was detained for like a month or something like that. Yeah. For no reason. Yeah. So like I'm not worried about that happening to me yet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like there's a bubble around us, and even though we're not like rich guys, and it's not like anyone's walking up to us and saying, "Hey, you're white. Here's $1 million." No. You know. But there is still definitely that
absolutely. I
that
completely agree.
In play.
There's also like the one of like I think it's really hard for a lot of males to understand the idea of like I have never in my life felt trepidation about like walking to my car in a dark parking lot. Unless I'm like already heightened alert, like if I'm in a rough area of town, so I'm already like just paying attention more. But like for females, that's regardless of pretty much wherever you are. Like there's some trepidation of like as you're walking to your car if you're by yourself.
And as dudes, most of the time, like let's say closing up a restaurant or whatever at the end of the night, it's always like, hey, make sure you walk her out to her car, see that she's gonna be okay, blah blah, because we know how dudes are. Yep. Yeah. It's like, hey, there might be someone out there with the same wild animal instinct as me who's not going to try to control it.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. I know, I agree. It is one of those. I think one of the problems that we run into too, and one of the problems that's like a result of kind of what happened in 2016 and what the Democrats are, the party is doing at the moment is, there's a way in which to broach the idea of like white privilege or privilege in general with people to where it's not going to make them antagonistic towards you. But like when you're telling a bunch of like factory workers who may have just lost their job in, you know, Ohio or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, like, yeah, you have white privilege, you're so much better off than everybody else, and they're like, dude, my life sucks right now, my son's addicted to opiates, like all this stuff. They're not going to hear your message. And they're going to listen to the guy who's saying, hey, I'm going to bring the jobs back. I'm going to put America first. I'm going to fix these problems. So I think there's like a real delicate balance of how to broach that subject with certain individuals, because I can recognize what people mean by that. And like we were just saying, like you and I experienced that, you know, level of privilege to a degree just in our daily lives without necessarily even thinking about it. And that's something I can recognize. But if you're telling that to somebody who's super down on their luck, who's been struggling their whole life, who's never had much of anything, is just trying their best to make ends meet, and then you're telling them like, oh, you're this huge privileged individual, they're going to be like, dude, go fuck yourself. Like, are you kidding me? Do you see my life? So it is like...
Yeah, I think that the Democrats should definitely get better at telling certain, you know... maybe not simple-minded, but rural folks, you know, people who are landlocked, you know, they could definitely get better at tricking those people into voting for them. Because that's what the Republicans are good at. Yeah, you know, they just tell them the right lies.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like,
and I'm not saying that they should lie to them, but I definitely know what you mean, because I would consider myself, well, let me not say. Let's see if it comes out through the conversation. I'll let the listeners be the judge before I slapping labels on myself. But I remember I was watching the presidential debates, and Hillary said something like, "I'm gonna do everything I can for women and the LGBT community," and blah blah. And I was like, "Okay, I'm with you. That's great. I really think you should do that. But you're trying to win an election here. You should probably say something about that about me."
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I still voted for her anyways.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's like a lot of people who might vote for you if you just said, "And I'm gonna help you guys in Nebraska get your jobs back," or whatever.
Yeah.
What do people in Nebraska do? Corn?
There's a lot of corn in
Yeah.
Nebraska.
She's like, I'm gonna make sure that y'all still keep getting that corn, and then I'm also gonna make sure that black people don't get beat up by the police and yada yada yada. I'm like, if you just threw that in there, that would help.
I think part of the problem is too, though, is that there would be attack by a radical portion and a very loud, vocal minority part of the Democratic Party that would be upset for pandering to white males.
Right. Absolutely. But you know what else is bogus is the amount of spitefulness from those people who might agree with the Democratic Party on a bunch of stuff, but just because they had to think about white privilege for a second, they're gonna be like, "Oh well, no, that's just gonna push me away, and now I have to vote for Trump just to spite you because you made me feel bad for being white." Well, you know what? Curse words at you. Like, for real, that's such a lazy and spiteful mentality to have. And when people would be like, "Oh, there's some kids on a college campus and they got really offended and they want to have a safe space room, blah blah." Well, that's why Trump won. It's like, well, you're being disingenuous here. It's like, you have to vote for all this other terrible stuff and, like, the whole nastiness of the Trumpiness. Oh, just because someone else did something that you think is bogus. Like, you know what I'm getting at? Like, that's kind of a roundabout way of saying it, but it's like, well, just because of you liberals and snowflakes, well, now I have to vote for Trump. It's like, no, you don't. You can have a slight problem with something that Democrats do and not totally jump ship and then go to the complete other radical end of the spectrum.
You mean like the Bernie bros that voted for Trump? Is that kind of like what you're talking about?
I guess.
Like
I mean,
a big
I
don't
know any Bernie bros.
Yeah, I don't either.
I just know that that's a term.
Yeah, well, I just know that there was a significant portion that voted for Trump who were Bernie supporters. And
it just drives me crazy when people say, "Well, I'm going to have to vote for Republicans because you're being too obnoxious about white privilege." I'm like, you realize how much more is at play than that?
Yeah.
And really, now you're getting offended. Now you're being a snowflake.
Oh yeah, the right gets super snowflake.
Oh, dude,
about a ton of stuff. It's pretty funny.
I love my dad, but he was wearing a T-shirt when I hung out with him a year or so ago, and it was like, "If you disrespect the flag, you disrespect blah blah." And I don't know, it had like a football. It was a reference to Kaepernick.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
And then we were sitting down at dinner, and my mom said something like, "Oh yeah, blah blah. What do they call them? Snowflakes." I'm like, "Oh really? Y'all want to talk about snowflakes?" Like, "Oh no, you kneel for your anthem. It hurts my feelings." Like, you want to talk about snowflakes when that's your attitude? Like, come on.
You're not showing. You're getting mad that people aren't showing proper respect to the sky cloth and the special song.
Honestly, I think it's weird. It's very weird to have this, like, reverence for the anthem and the flag and stuff. Don't come after me, y'all. You don't know where I live. But no, it's creepy to me.
It is, like, that's what, like, a lot of us within the libertarian movement are like, dude, it's a religion. Yeah. You got your sacred, like, texts. You got your sacred.
Well, check this out too. I was thinking about this earlier. I read the Constitution before I came over, just so.
Okay, for sure.
Well, just like religion, they can take the pieces of it that they like and ignore the other parts.
Yeah, for sure. And it's it's very and you can't critique it. You can't, in a lot of ways ask probing questions as to like why things exist. It's just the way it is. It is. It's a fascinating. Excuse me. It's fascinating that like I think it's kind of replaced religion in the United States in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The idea like of the state.
That's an interesting way to put it, but I think you're onto something.
I think that people kind of want that in, you know, to a degree, maybe not even consciously, but they kind of seek out that like structure and that kind of normalcy and like feeling, you know, the world can be so chaotic that like if there's some thing that like for the longest time was represented by religion, but now maybe represented by the state, where it's like, okay, there's this thing and I know what it's about and I know like why it's there and it's there for me or whatever it may be, and we have these different ways in which we can like interact with it or like show our appreciation for it. I think people like that in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people kind of seek that out as like a sense of stability within the world and how chaotic, especially now, like the world seems like it's out of control and just nuts.
Well, I think one element in play there, and it has a lot to do with why Republicans are so loyal and like a very mobilized like voting bloc, is that the religious element has been used to just steer them into the flock. You know what I mean? Just by saying, well, we're the Christian party, you know, because we're going to make sure that they can't get abortions. You know, that's kind of a starting point. I remember when I was a kid, I was like 14, 13. I was like, maybe like the first... When was the first Bush election? Like
2000.
So I think it was then. And I asked my mom, I was like, "Why are we Republicans?" Like I don't really know what it means. Like why are we Republicans? She was like, "Well, there's a lot of issues, but you know, basically abortion and gay marriage are really important to us." I'm like, so two things that will literally never affect you? Yeah. I didn't think that at the time. I was just like, oh, okay. Because I was a Christian kid, and I was like, well, that makes sense, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now when I look at it, and I know that's not all that they care about.
No, for sure.
But it's such a defining thing. So that whole religious mentality is kind of like, it definitely lines up with the overall conservative political way of thinking and going about it, because I was thinking earlier today. So someone like my parents, or like, let's just say my mom specifically, and then someone from like that Charlottesville rally from, you know, the Unite the Right, Jews will not replace us, one of those guys.
Those idiots.
I mean, there's no way that those two people would probably ever even get along. No. And there's so many things that they wouldn't agree with that the other one thinks. Yeah. Yet at the same time, they will probably go vote for the same guy, no matter what. Yeah. And yet, on the other side, you have people who are like, well, I like Elizabeth Warren, but I like Bernie Sanders. So, you know, because this guy is going to do a little bit more for students, and this one's going to do a little bit more for immigrants. And so I'll never vote for the other one because blah, blah, blah. And so there's way more diversity of thought, I think, in the left, in the Democratic side of things, which is why you say you have people like Bernie bros who might have gone and voted for Trump because they're like, well, I like Bernie, you know, but I don't like the other Democrats, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. There's not as much like loyalty and uniformity of thought, which I think is great, and like, I think that's how humanity thrives, is when we're like, when we all can think for ourselves. Yeah. But that's also why we lose. So the religious element, it's not the only element that gets all the conservatives unified, but it's definitely that type of mentality where it's like, we belong to this group, you know, and we must stay with the group because of some kind of divine force. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's interesting too, because it's like 2020 is going to be a very interesting election in a lot of ways. I think the Democrats are having to go very far left to get the nomination, which I think is going to be detrimental when it comes time for the general election. I don't know who. I don't think Biden's going to get the nomination, I think it's just his campaign's kind of like, I wouldn't say in a tailspin, but it's definitely on like a downward slope at the moment.
I mean, he's just an old man.
He is.
He's an old man.
And yeah, it's
he honestly,
to show.
I mean, he generally kind of strikes me as a conservative.
And I think, in a lot of ways, like there's a lot of kind of similarities between, more moderate Democrats or traditional maybe Democrats, and like where conservatism has moved to now. Because like, for the most part, you're not really hearing Republicans argue about gay marriage anymore. They're just like, okay, whatever. Like it is what it. Like that's just what it's gonna be.
Well, I can tell you this, that the Trump administration is trying to pass a law. They went to the Supreme Court to try to make it so that people can fire someone just for being gay.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So that's not gone.
No,
that is not gone. See, it's funny what you're saying, that I feel like the conservatives have gone so far to the right that now the center they're calling far left.
Possibly. I could see that.
I would say when I didn't listen to all of the Democratic debates, but they were like, would you give free healthcare and free college to illegal immigrants? And they're like, yeah. I was like, really? I don't know. That, to me, that was like the farthest left. If you want to say far left, I was like, I mean, I don't have any strong opinion of like, no, you can't do that. But I'm like, why don't we try to get those things for citizens first?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of see what you mean, where it seems like they're just trying to go as far over, like, yeah, and, hand jobs for the homeless. And,
that would go over real well in Austin.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I guess I could see how that would be a little extreme. But overall, like, I feel like not everyone, but it's an absurd time that we live in.
I agree.
It's absurd, and it seems less and less like people can just generally agree on how society is going to be decent for everyone.
And it's also weird too, because you really only get that when it comes to politics, because like when you're just out and about, like that's not what like life feels like when you're out and about. When you're just going grocery shopping, or when you're when you're out on Red River, like you're like, okay, I gotta be aware because there's a bunch of drug stuff going on, but you're not like combative. Like there's not arguments going on per se in every single bar about people like arguing over like policy and stuff.
Right.
Like people are just out. Like
it's true. And like even if I spend time out in the country or just around rednecks or conservative people, for the most part it's like pretty chill. But once again, I'm a white dude, so
that could be too.
So they feel like I'm not really a threat to them.
Could be. Yeah.
And I do wonder how much, like, I read way too much news.
Yeah.
And just consume way too much noise anyways.
It's hard not to.
You wonder, like, obviously a lot of this stuff is happening, and like there are those stereotypical like violent Trump assholes, out in the country, just like, they just want to like throw their cans out the window and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then obviously there are college kids who are like, you saw that video where I don't know, it was like a socialist rally of some kind,
or the
and like point of privilege. Could you please stop? I have a sensory overload.
Yeah.
Everyone please just stop mumbling. Like,
and then the other guy got mad because he used the word guys.
And it's like, I mean, so the difference to me, and I do think that that's pretty nutty.
Yeah.
But, obviously there's far right and far left politicians and policies and things that they want to do. But when you want to talk about people and their personalities, like people who we know who are generally like far right and what their attitudes are and how they behave on the day-to-day, and the people on the left, I can see how someone would say it's both equally absurd. But the way I see it is the left, in all of their sensitivity and stuff like that, at least what they're trying to do is be more inclusive and more sensitive to people, even if it becomes like, okay, that's ridiculous. But I feel like their motivation ultimately is to make life more comfortable and more accessible for people who are traditionally marginalized and maybe overlooked.
I can see that.
Where the other side is more like, oh, those people now want rights, like they see it as a threat.
Yeah. I can see that traditionally. For sure.
And to me, there's a bit more of like, we have to stop these people from doing this, yada yada. We got to, whatever, fire people for being gay, or stop people from immigrating, legally or illegally.
Yeah.
It's more about, we have to stop these other people so that we can preserve our way of life that we like. Whereas the other side, and I'm talking about the extremes.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas the other extreme is like, we have to make sure that some, whatever, marginalized person, like a trans immigrant, with autism, something like that. We have to make sure that we're not, excluding them or hurting them. And to me, that's noble.
Yeah.
Like, even if sometimes the way that it's exercised to us is like, oh, come on, you're being ridiculous. I feel like at least the cause is noble.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about too. I think is also the belief system of the extremes on both sides, and it's the belief system of the people that adhere to that ideology. I don't think it's what we're talking about when we're talking about actual elected officials, because elected officials don't care at all. They care about votes. And they care.
Well, and that's what I was getting to as well, is that all these extremes are out there. Mm-hmm. They certainly exist, but generally the people who I interact with, like, I would say mainly everyone I know here in Austin is gonna vote Democrat.
Probably.
Pretty much everyone I know, I'm guessing.
I think. I'd say that's fair.
But the people who I know aren't, yelling out safe space, or I'm offended, or you can't say that, or I'm triggered, or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just generally people aren't like that.
No, for sure. It's the extreme. And that was somebody put it over like South Park. Like they had South Park characters doing that. The Democratic. What was funny about that too is, so the like point of personal privilege is a real thing in Robert's rules. Like that's how you conduct a meeting. When you say point of personal privilege, what you're asking is like, I'm asking permission to just say something that may not necessarily adhere to what we're talking about at this exact moment. Like you're asking for privilege to kind of just speak your mind. You're not asking a question about what's going on. You just have something that you want to say. But it was kind of funny seeing folks who aren't aware of like Robert's rules, or like how those types of conventions go on. We're like, oh yeah, point of personal privilege, like using it as
I actually don't know what
thing.
Robert's rules. I don't know about that.
It's just it's rules for conducting a convention like that, or a meeting.
Okay.
And it's just there's ways. There's point of people ask point of information when they have a question about something that's going on.
Okay, so people just, that is a common thing people say.
Yeah, and so what?
Well, the context was funny because the dude was like, please refrain from using gendered language when referring to us.
Yeah. For sure.
It is just the guy's voice, like. It's pretty funny.
But basically what it is it's kind of allowing you to cut in. It's
gotcha.
Like, hey, I've got something pertinent that I need to say, and so you have to be recognized.
Are you defending liberals right now? Is that what you're doing?
I'm just saying, like, the point of personal privilege, while it sounds funny to people who don't
realize no, it's a common thing to say.
It's very common in that type of setting to use that word, or to use that phrase. So it was just, but yeah, that was, that one was funny, because it was just... yeah, I mean,
it's taken out of context, so
for sure,
it just seems very.
It was, yeah.
It's funny. It's a funny video.
It is,
but it doesn't really change my opinion about anyone, liberals.
No, for sure. And again, like I get it. I get where folks on the left are coming from, and I think people within the liberty movement and libertarianism are coming from the same place. It's just different methods of how to get to providing the best for everybody, and like how to best go about that. Which, so I definitely get that, and I think there's again, we were talking about the extremes. I think most people on the right are. I think a lot of times it's just straight up the Republican Party are great swindlers at talking about economics, and they're great at
even though they crash the economy every time.
Or they spend more money than the Democrats do, like, but they have gotten it to where, like, yeah, we're the party that cares about the economy.
Well, they're really good at lying to people who are locked into that flock mentality. you know,
For sure.
because they're trusting, and that's why it ties in with religion. Is like, not every single person who's religious is like that, but overall, it's like they're pretty easily manipulated.
It can be.
I don't know if you grew up in church or not, but
Yeah.
or what, Catholic or.
I was just a non-denominational Christian.
So, in my experience with Christianity, when you get to a certain point, when you ask questions long enough, it doesn't make sense. And when you get to that point, the higher ups in the church or whoever, you know, it could be your older brother or your dad or your youth pastor or someone, whoever, if you are asking all these questions and you get to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore,
Yeah.
they'll tell you, well, you just got to have faith.
Yeah.
Well, God just works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
And I think the same, to live in a mentality where you'll accept that, like, oh, okay, well, I'll stop asking questions now because God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. It's a very easy out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why those people are able to be manipulated by the Republican Party, because as soon as something stops making sense, it's like, oh, just have faith. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
We'll take care of the economy even though
Yeah.
we're not going to do anything about it. I think, yeah, it's kind of interesting too. It's like one of those things, one of my like biggest, because I wouldn't define myself as like atheist or anything. I'm just kind of, I would say, I guess maybe agnostic, more of just like, I'm not too sure. I'm kind of like exploring for myself exactly what I think may or may not be out there, like whatever it may be. But I think one of the things that always got me was like, and it's they actually used the quote in it was Batman v Superman. Lex Luthor says it. Who Jesse Eisenberg was a very weird choice for Lex Luthor, but that's neither here nor there. That's a DC problem. But he uses that phrase of, if God is all powerful, then he can't be all good, and if he's all good, then he can't be all powerful.
Sure.
Just based on how life goes, like, he's either. You can't be both in that kind of case, and it's just like a very hands-off type approach. So it's kind of one of those things where you start questioning different parts of it, and
they'll say, who can understand the mind of God? And then they'll go on to give you a bunch of all these rules that God wants you to do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so no one can understand God, but you certainly seem to understand enough to control people.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, again, I think there's a lot of good in the Bible and good things to live off of and like good ways in which to live your life, especially once you reach the New Testament.
There's a few.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think a lot of what Jesus said is good stuff, good ideas to live by.
Some of it.
Yeah. Not all of it, obviously, but like a lot of the Old Testament.
People say that a lot. A lot of what, Jesus said and all that. And it's like, we've got these vague ideas of these things, like what exactly?
Well,
what
like,
exactly did Jesus say that you think is good?
Okay.
You don't have to say everything, but
okay. Oh, okay.
Like, I'm just saying, do you like? Well, what do you? I will ask you, like, what exactly do you think?
Well, just like the idea of that, like the famous, that he who is without sin cast the first stone. Like, don't be so judgmental.
That's a good one for sure.
It's a really, I think that's a really good one. The ideas of when he's loving thy neighbor, taking care of thy neighbor, again, are ones where it's like good ways in which to live by. And so like there's things that you could. Well, I don't find a lot of the Old Testament to be things that are worth living by or worth adhering to in any way, because it's very weird.
It is.
It's a striking contrast.
It is weird. I do really actually enjoy a lot of the teachings of Solomon.
Okay.
He's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
He's my favorite guy from the Bible.
Okay. That's a good choice. I like that.
And another thing that it's funny, because those are really good things that Jesus said, and he also said stuff about foreigners in your land and treat them like they're one of you, and if anything, to be extra kind to travelers and foreigners and widows, poor people, sick people. The whole message
hung out
of
with
him
a hooker
was
all
like,
the time.
I mean, the whole message was be good to these people.
Yeah.
The people who are suffering, the people who are struggling. Like the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, give me your tired, your weak.
And then that dude the other day, I forgot who it was. The immigration guy.
Yeah,
He's like, no, it's people who are from Europe who can stand on their own 2 feet. That's what the poem means.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. And so there's another thing that is one of my favorites from the Bible is when Jesus goes into the temple and they're basically just selling stuff.
Yeah.
They set up shop. Mm-hmm. And there's like money changers. I don't personally see what the big moral issue with changing money is, but they were just conducting business in the church, and he comes in and flips the tables over and starts like, I think maybe in one version he has a whip.
Yeah.
But he's like, get out of here! You turned my father's house into a place of business, and it's supposed to be a place of worship.
Yeah.
When I was growing up in Carrollton, there was a big church in Plano. It's still there. It's called Prestonwood Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. I'm sure plenty of you have heard of it. And it's like a cartoon. You know what I mean? It's like a cartoon church that you would see in South Park or like King of the Hill or something to like make fun of, like, you know, the big televangelist, mega church type of thing. And they sell Starbucks coffee in there, and they have a bookstore, and they sell all kinds of, you know, Christian products, but they're selling stuff regardless.
Yep.
And I have a friend who, you know, we used to hang out a lot when we were teenagers, and just kind of, we both were kind of non-religious, but always like philosophizing and getting high and just talking about, you know, this is the way it should be, blah blah.
Yeah.
He went a little off the rails for a little while, but at one point he went to that church and he took a Bible and he stood outside of their shop and just was like reading that passage about, you know, Christ flipping the tables and all that, just reading it out loud to people who were just kind of walking around, and they like security escorted him out.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which I mean, I would have told him like, dude, that's a silly thing to do, but
it's a good point.
Like, really, if you, and we're all kind of conditioned to not do radical things.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Just kind of keep the status quo and keep things normal.
Don't cause a fuss. Don't get out of the line.
What he did was not wrong. Mm-mm. I mean, I really don't think the Jesus that people say they believe in, you know, the Jesus that's written on those pages, I don't think he would be cool with that. No, I don't think he would walk into a church and see people selling Starbucks coffee for $3 or $4 a pop and be like, "Oh, that's cool. I get a free one because I'm Jesus."
Get it on your way in, or like most churches just provide it for free. Right? You know? Like most churches just do that. My church always just gave away free.
I know,
coffee.
It's crazy, dude. It's really, really nuts to me.
It is, and that's where you see, like, there's, again, like, I think it's what we're talking about is, like, good-hearted people who legitimately believe in this, and then you've got people who are, like, swindlers, and they see an opportunity to take advantage of the good nature of these people, or, you know, the way in which they believe in this thing, and that's how you get, like, these mega churches where you've got these pastors flying around on private jets, and like Joel Osteen and like those kind of people, where it's like,
well, the thing is, to a certain degree, there are like good-natured people who are, you know, Christian because they actually care about the Bible and they actually know the Bible well. Mm-hmm. But there's a thing called seeker-friendly churches, and that's kind of like those mega churches. Okay. But that's what they call it, seeker-friendly, because they want it to be like, oh, well, see, these people are lost. You know, they don't have God in their lives, so they have something missing, you know. And we want to make this as palatable and inviting as we possibly can. Okay. To basically make them feel comfortable and sign up and start donating money to the church.
Yeah, tithing.
And so if they were actually going to preach the gospel and adhere to it in like the things that Jesus says, and if they were going to have a giant church, and we all know that in Dallas or Plano or whatever, the church is going to be made up of a lot of conservatives. So if they go up there and they start saying, hey, the Bible says we need to treat immigrants as one of us, they're probably not going to, probably not going to pack the seats. Yeah. You know, and if they say, do you know any sick people or any widows or any, you know, whatever in your life, give them, you know, half your paycheck or something like that. Yeah. Then they'll be like, what? Your welfare handouts? No, you know. So it's not in the church's best interest to cater to the actual good-natured people who care about the Bible. It's in their best interest to create a comfortable environment where they feel like they belong and they can feel good about themselves for being part of a church. Yeah. And that's the giant ones. I know there are smaller churches and people who do care. But,
for sure.
But that's how that business thrives.
No, the big ones, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I would bet you that most of those people in there, if you start grilling them about the Bible, they're gonna be like, whoa, look, I just go to church, feel good about myself, chill out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so the problem I have with that is that the Bible's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
It's not a wishy-washy message.
No.
You know?
And that's the thing too. Like again, like I think, like I was saying, there's some good that you can find from it, and some good that you can like choose to live your life off of. But if you're going to like be so adherent to it that like you're against gay marriage or you're against abortion,
even though that's not even really. Oh, that's another thing I was gonna say. So we know that Jesus flipped the tables because they were selling stuff at church.
Yeah.
So we know that he had a big problem with selling things at church.
Yeah. We
know that he had love for immigrants and the poor and the sick. What did he say about gay marriage? And what did he say about abortion?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep. And so that's where to me, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to adhere that strictly to specific tenets and not just be like, hey, this is a document where there's some good in it and there's some bad in it, and you can kind of like parse the good things and those are good things to live by. If you're going to be like, no, it's the word of God and all of it has to be followed, then you better not be eating meat on Fridays, or like there's so many.
Oh, well, no. See, that's the Jewish part, and Christ, he made it so that we don't have to do that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. The New Testament just kind of wiped out all of the Old Testament.
Yeah, even though Jesus does say, a lot of you think that I'm here to wipe out the law, but no, as a matter of fact, I'm here to double enforce the law. He said something like that.
Oh, really?
We can look it up.
Okay.
But there's so much, man. There's so much that is inconsistent with the way that people want to be Christians, and that's why I just had to get out of it altogether. Yeah,
I think that's kind of the main problem is with like organized religion. That's kind of what we were talking about, like on a larger scale. Like again, there's smaller churches, and maybe even the good majority of like the smaller churches that aren't like that, but like that's not who's driving the movement. That's not who's like where the money's coming from. That's like being involved in politics and using that kind of stuff. And it's definitely not the type of people that those who profess to be like Christian politicians are like they're not trying to get that vote per se. So it's just kind of a interesting thing. And then like I said, I think for a lot of people they've replaced religion with like the state worship in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And like the getting so mad about the national anthem, and it's like, dude,
that's just weird. That's so weird.
Who cares?
And I have to wonder like how much of that is actually organic and how much of it is they were told to be upset about it.
I think it's a healthy dose of being told.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the problem with the corporate media in general. It's like,
I'm like, if my dad was watching, and I bring up my parents a lot because I literally don't really know a lot of right-wing people. And I mean, I know them, they're out there, but the most prominent examples to me are just like my own family.
Yeah.
And you have the T-shirt,
Yeah.
But if he just watched a football game and noticed that someone was kneeling and never saw anything about it on Fox News, just saw that, I really seriously doubt that he would care at all.
Yeah.
And I think that probably applies to a lot of people.
I would wonder if like it was like his favorite player that did it too.
Right.
Like, would that change it?
Yeah.
Would he be more sympathetic?
Or if it was a white player who did it first.
Yeah. And there were some white players that did it too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's like, are you as mad at them?
And here's the other thing, relating to that topic that drives me nuts, is you hear people say, well, black people act like they're the only ones who get killed by the cops, but it happens to everyone. It's not just a black thing, so they need to stop complaining, whatever. It's like, whoa. If you believe that's true, then you should still have a problem.
Yes.
Because it's a human being problem.
Yes.
It's a cop problem.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, it's not a racial thing. The cops just do that. It's like, well, then you should be just as mad, if not more mad.
That's such a libertarian argument right there.
Yeah?
Because like I don't care. Okay, cool. You can throw the numbers at me that more white dudes white males get shot by cops than black males. More white males get shot and killed. Cool. That's not. I don't care. The fact is that it's a citizen. It's a human being being shot and killed by a police officer.
Right.
And the amount that it happens to people who are unarmed and who should not be getting killed is astounding, because if it's anything higher than 1, it's a problem. If there's one person being shot and killed by a agent of the state, what's a representative of the government, if there's 1, that's too many. If they don't deserve to be killed. So, like, we're talking about thousands. And then if the cop
gets away with it, too?
Oh, my God. And it almost always happens that way. It's now starting to change. The 2 of the cops are being charged with murder in the did you hear about the one in Houston, the couple that got killed?
Just recently?
It was about a year ago.
I'm not sure. So
they drum up this fake drug bust on this couple. There was no drug. They weren't. The cops made it out as if they were drug dealers. And they get this warrant to go into their house. These people weren't drug dealers. They didn't do drugs at all. And so they get into a shootout with the cops because they don't know. Somebody just busts down their door.
Okay, I think this sounds...
Yeah.
I remember that they busted in their house and they had... Yeah. They tried to defend themselves.
Yeah, and so they shot and killed the couple. Jeez. And the 2 of the officers are facing murder charges for it because of falsifying documents. And because, they just straight up went to kill.
What did they have against these people? Why were they trying to get these people?
It's one of those where you don't, you hear hearsay of, just,
were they white people?
They were white.
People?
They were a white couple. Yeah. So you're starting to see a little bit. They finally fired the guy who killed Eric Garner.
Yeah. But that's it? They just fired him?
5 years later.
Oh, wow. He's probably going to get, a pension.
Yeah, he got to collect a paycheck for 5 years. Yeah, they do get pensions. He got to collect a paycheck for 5 years before they fired him. And so, that's to me. I'm like, dude, I don't care what the color is, what the statistics are of the person being shot. If they are being murdered by an agent of the state and they don't deserve to do so, that's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the problem is.
You should be infuriated about that.
It shouldn't matter what color their skin is.
Exactly.
At all. It's just, No, that's...
So, it's just wild. I've heard people make that argument.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. I do not care at all. I don't care if they look like me or not. They're a human being.
I'm sure you've heard this quote. It's about I forget who it was by, but it has to do with the Holocaust, and it's first they came for the socialists, but I wasn't socialist, so I didn't say anything. Then they came for them, yada yada yada.
Yeah, and then
I think we're living in a society of people thinking that way. Just the way that certain people are treated in this society. And we're like, well, it's not happening to me, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
And eventually, it's going to come down to.
It could be. Yeah, that's what we libertarians warn about a lot. Where it's look, these different rights are being taken away by the government. You're not going to get them back easily. And the more and more, it's not going to be overnight. They're not going to do an overnight oh, hey, we're stripping all these rights away. There's going to be a curfew. There's going to be military out. Police are going to be enforcing a curfew because people would oppose it and there'd be massive revolution. But if you take away a little bit here, a little bit there, you have the Patriot Act where it's okay, well, we want to make ourselves safe so we can't get attacked by terrorists again. So, you can collect data about suspected terrorists. But then we find out, they're collecting data about all of us. Yeah. And, all of this stuff's going on. And it's just little pieces. And then one day you wake up and you're like, what happened? How did we get here?
And another thing that always freaked me out and pissed me off about Obama was that, if I'm not mistaken, he signed something to where if someone's suspected of terrorism, they can be indefinitely detained without a trial.
Yeah, the NDAA.
Yeah. And what does that even mean, suspected of terrorism? Because now, and see, this is what drives me nuts. Because, towards the end of Obama's presidency, I liked him just because I was like, all right, this dude's pretty funny. He doesn't really have any massive personal scandals. I like him.
Yeah.
But I still had issues with things that he did. And I was actually in my early 20s. I didn't know anything about politics. I was in a very just saying stuff.
Yeah.
But I back then was leaning probably a little more libertarian.
Okay. We lost you along the way.
Yeah. But I wrote a lot of music that was kind of it's all messed up, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody's right.
A little bit of a Rage Against type.
Yeah, a little bit of that. But what I hate so much is how things that Obama did enabled the next guy, whoever it would have been, to do terrible things.
Yep.
And it's like, so now they want to classify Antifa as a far left terrorist group.
Yeah.
Well, Antifa, who is that? Like, it's barely a thing, you know?
Well, they are. I mean, they are.
And really, violent. The way that I see some of those guys who like wear the masks and stuff, anyone I've known who sort of like vaguely would have been a part of something like that is more like a libertarian or anarchist type of person, you know?
To a degree.
Like the average left-wing person who might go to a protest or whatever is not part of this little group called Antifa. But what does it mean? Anti-fascist?
Yeah.
So
they're
like,
super fascist in the way that they act.
But the point is, what they're trying to do is make it so that if you say, yeah, I'm anti-fascist, well, you're part of this terrorist group.
That could be, yeah.
Dude, no, that's 100% where they're going with it. I promise you.
And it's very easy. I mean, there's it would be very easy for them to make the jump of like just based off of my podcast and things that I say to be like, this guy is a threat to like he could be the type of individual that would attack, you know, a government building or something like that, and then I'm on that list, and then
now you just said it.
Yeah, you know, like it's very easy for them to make that leap.
I certainly would never do anything like that. I've made it very clear I'm a status quo individual, and I just want to be comfortable.
No, I mean, libertarians are inherently we're non-aggressive. We don't want to bring aggression or violence against peaceful people. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it would be if they wanted to make that sort of argument and to make that sort of leap with people who are vocally critical of the state or vocally anti-government, like that would be an easy classification to be like, well, they can pose a threat. Like if they're that anti-government, would they take that next step?
Well, here, check it out, man. So you got all these guys marching around with like their guns and stuff. Just people just like all these open carry guys who are just being super obnoxious about it. You know, who like walk into Walmart with their AR or whatever just to show that they can. Yeah. The administration now is definitely like, well, that's your right. Yeah, that's because they know they have those people under their thumb,
for sure.
And you know what's the whole big part of the argument about the guns has always been, well, it's the Constitution so that we can oppose a tyrannical government, even though that's not what the Constitution says.
I mean, it doesn't say that specifically, but that's the reason it was written.
A lot of time the argument that I hear is like, well, in case the government and we have to rise up against them, like, yeah, fucking right, you're gonna do that.
Well, see, that's the thing.
But how come the government, especially the one right now, is so like, yeah, y'all need your guns so you can, you know, in case you need to rise up against us. Like, well, no, that's not it.
There's only certain folks within the government that would say that. I would argue.
I think the goal is to basically utilize those people in like a cultural takeover.
Possibly.
I mean,
it could be.
It feels that way to me, but maybe I'm just paranoid from the news sources that I'm reading. But I definitely could see all these super gun nut Trump people being like, well, we're the militia now, and we're going to fight these left-wing terrorists, when really these left-wing terrorists are just people who want healthcare and people who want education.
Well, no, I mean, there's a distinct difference between Antifa and people who want healthcare.
I know, but that's the point. That's why they're trying to. I think that's the direction they're going. I really do. Like,
that could very well.
Like, be. I'm not saying I'm worried about just Antifa getting. No, but once again, it's then they came for Antifa, then they came for us. I think that's where they're going with this.
Okay, I could see that, and I think part of the problem too is that a lot of folks on the left and a lot of influencers within the left movement aren't doing enough to denounce Antifa and what they do, and like saying like, no, we don't agree, you know, with that. Like, it doesn't come out a lot, like when they beat up Andy No, or when they're when they're just, you know, beating up people in Portland.
How much is there really? Like,
enough to be like, you should denounce that. Like, they're beating. What the problem with those individuals of Antifa is they view differing opinions or saying things that disagree with their beliefs as actual violence. So they believe that it's justified for them to respond with physical violence in kind because your words are violence against me. And again, we're talking about an incredibly small group,
right?
That does that. But I think part of the problem is, and again, like I could definitely see where you're coming from, where it would be easy to lump a bunch of people in with that group. But I think part of the problem is too is that the left isn't helping in that cause if they're not denouncing. Like, you should, like, I don't feel like it should be that crazy of a thing for somebody to be able to say, yeah, you shouldn't beat somebody up who's maybe a journalist that has views that
has
you don't
no
agree
one
with.
said that?
Not like a whole. Andrew Yang was like the only presidential candidate that said anything about Andy No when he got beat up. And yeah, it's just it's not like.
What I'm not really familiar with that particular situation. What was Andy No doing when he got beat up?
He was filming. He's a journalist, so he was just filming the Antifa protest rally, and so then they like he had like a brain hemorrhage. He had to be in the hospital. Like he got interviewed a little time after and like could barely speak. Like he can speak fairly normally now, but like his words sounded all slurred. It was almost as if he was drunk.
Dang, that sucks.
Yeah. So it's just I get what you're saying totally, but I think that there's folks on the left who are like leaders within the left that could do more to say like, hey, we don't agree with the way in which these people are acting, whether or not their beliefs fall in line with what we're trying to seek at a government level.
It seems to me that and I'm generalizing here a bit, but from the libertarian or sort of centrist, both sides are the same. I feel like there's a lot of extra criticism about the left, and it just completely ignoring how absolutely batshit the right is, and not holding them to the same standards. Because look, that's a small thing, and to say, oh, all these politicians, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, whoever, they all need to be talking about Antifa, and yet at the same time, like. The way that right-wing people are right now, like going to stores with guns and these Trump rallies, people who come, like, dude, I went to, they were unveiling an African-American history, like a mural or like a statue type of thing at the Capitol. And I went down there, and there was literally people with like Nazi flags and Confederate flags and just like all that. And it's like, it seems to me like that kind of stuff is way more common. And the types of just the things that certain right-wing politicians say, like, why do you or anyone else, it's almost like we're just so used to it at this point that it's like, well, when the left slips up, it's like, oh, see, Hillary, you should have mentioned the farmers, and now the whole Democratic Party means nothing to me. Whereas, like, this other side is constantly doing racist things. If it's not even just outright racism, it's just being okay with other racists and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, well, that's just what they do. But
yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like there's
sure.
a little bit of double standard to me. Like, people kind of expect this righteousness from the left, and as soon as they slip up, it's like, well, you failed, you're done.
I think that tends to be more of a centrist. Like, I think libertarian. I know, like, I feel like I'm pretty good about criticizing just bad actors wherever I see them. I've said multiple times that Trump should be executed for war crimes. Well, put on trial and then executed for war crimes. So, like, it's one of those things, like, I'll give credit where credit's due, but I also feel like I'm more than willing to criticize both sides in that regard. I think it is. I think I do think I kind of get what you're saying for more like centrists, where they're maybe more. That's a good point, because I can kind of see that for sure.
It also comes down to, if I'll point out to whoever, theoretically, like, okay, look at this crazy thing that the Trump administration is doing. Even with other people who I think are like pretty reasonable, even if they might be sort of conservative, I feel like it's really hard to get them to just acknowledge it and say, yeah, that's really messed up. It's always like, oh, well, both sides are just crazy. It's like, no. Now is not the time to say that. Look at this actual thing that's happening that this side is doing right now. Yeah. Like, this is the time to acknowledge that and just say that it's wrong. If you just say that it's wrong, it doesn't mean that you're saying, well, I agree with every single thing that Bernie Sanders says. It's like, just acknowledge it. And I feel like I hear a lot of, well, yeah, both sides are just crazy. It's like, well, I mean, maybe to some degree, but can we not just take a situation and examine it for what it is?
I agree. And I think that's one of the things, at least with what I try to talk about when I talk about this kind of stuff, to me, I want to get across that, like, yeah, what he's doing is wrong. And kind of like what you were saying earlier, like, we've allowed this branch of the government to become so powerful that he's able to do this kind of stuff. Because for me, I'm like, I'm not as concerned with who it is in the White House or what the letter next to their name may be. Because for me, it's like, if you're uncomfortable with the amount of power that Trump has, you don't fix that by just working hard to get your guy in there to make sure that they're the ones with that power.
Sure.
Because it's never going to, like, it's
well,
gonna
the rest of them are all
swinging.
in play, too. I mean, the Senate and the
oh, yeah,
Supreme
no, for
Court
sure.
and all that.
For sure. But it's just like, it's going to keep swinging back and forth. So for me, I'm like, I think it makes more sense to have, if you're that afraid of what this entity can do and the effect that it can have on your personal life, my thought is like, well, let's start working together to limit that, so that if your side loses the election, you're not devastated to the point where you're like, my entire life is going to be affected.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you can be okay knowing that, like, okay, because now it's like any power, like using executive orders, like that was something Obama did a lot too. And so anytime like Trump's using them, that gives an argument to the right to say, well, Obama did it a lot too, so we're just doing the same thing Obama did. And it doesn't really get us anywhere. Whereas if we like start limiting the power,
that's another thing that makes, well, I mean, it makes sense because I get what they're doing, but it's so backwards to me, is when people be like, we hated Obama, we hated everything about him, he wanted to be a dictator, and he blah, 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 everything he did was awful.
Yep.
And then if Trump does something, they can be like, well, Obama did it. I'm like, okay, well, then you should hate it.
Yes.
If you have any consistency within your beliefs, then if he does something that Obama did or something that you think Obama did or was trying to do, then you should hate it.
Exactly.
Why are you going to use Obama now to defend it?
Exactly.
Because you weren't okay with it then, but now you are.
Exactly. And that's the problem. You shouldn't be okay with it just because it's your guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not okay with it when it's the other guy, then you're not okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And that's the thing is, Obama wasn't my guy.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't vote when I was younger. I just missed the boat. I just didn't really, I was naive.
It's your right to.
I do vote now every chance I get, but I definitely leaned left.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was just because I wasn't religious anymore and I just wanted to do what I want. And to me, that's kind of, to me, that is a big part of. We all have this version of the real American idea, what the founding fathers really wanted. Yeah, everyone has their own version of that.
Yeah.
But life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? Liberty.
Yep.
And that's why I'm liberal, because it's like, look, do what you want.
Yep.
If you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
So like if you want to smoke weed.
Yep.
If you want to have some consensual sex with someone, go for it.
If you want to have
consensual is key.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, those are just like the seeds of me just as a person being liberal. And then it goes on, and of course it's all the government stuff is a little different, but generally, yeah, sure, you could say Obama was my guy.
I didn't.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, I had plenty of problems with Obama, and I had no problem saying so.
Yeah.
And most people I know also did. In fact, thanks Obama was a really popular thing, even among, left-wing people.
Yeah.
It was just a funny thing to say.
Yeah,
but right
sure.
now, it seems like there's this pocket of people who just will not criticize Trump, no matter what.
Yeah, his base, for sure.
Even if he just flips from something he said yesterday.
Yeah.
And he actually did say, after one of those shootings, who can even remember which one, well, maybe we'll just take the guns and then we'll ask questions
have due
later.
process after.
Not a peep, dude.
Yeah.
Not a peep.
There's a lot of peep from the Liberties.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
On that one.
Yeah.
That was yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was not.
Oh, man.
That was such a crazy.
It's kind of funny, like, they'll be like, it's not polite to ever talk about politics or religion, but like for some folks, that's like all we want to talk about.
Well, I think part of it too. I think that did our society a great disservice, because now we don't know how.
Right.
And we don't know how to talk with people that we don't agree with.
Right.
Without it devolving into like
attacking.
Attacking, not hearing them, not understanding. Like when I try to talk to people that I disagree with, by and large, unless it's like Kate, I'll be a little more loosey-goosey with because she knows where I'm coming from. So it's more of like maybe I'll be testing, how I can say certain things or
Sure.
whatever it may be. But for the most part, I want to ask prodding questions. It's like I want to understand the philosophy behind what you think. Because I know, like, as a libertarian, a lot of our views get mischaracterized because there's a lack of understanding of the philosophy behind it. And so the way in which our view may look from the outside when you don't understand the reasoning behind it, it can get mischaracterized really easily. So I don't want to do that to other people. So I'm interested in how you came to your belief on something.
For sure.
And why you feel that way.
It can be really hard, like, this happens to me when I talk to my family, because I don't see them super often, and it's like I've got a lot on my mind, and so sometimes it's hard to talk to them about their beliefs without being like, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah,
and no one wants to listen to you if you talk to them like that.
No, for sure.
And whether they should or not, they just don't, and sometimes you just have to suck it up and be nice to people. And even if someone is like not very reasonable, you kind of like gotta be like, okay, well, maybe this, maybe that.
Yeah. It is, and it's one of those things you kind of have to learn, especially from my, like, where I come from and what my beliefs are. I really have to, like, I recognize that I see the world vastly differently than, like, the majority of the population does, just in the way in which, like, what the government should or shouldn't be should exist at all, but that's but so I recognize that in a lot of ways, and when I talk with people, because there's room in every movement. Like, I see there's plenty of libertarians who, like, will argue back and forth with people on Twitter all day long, and I'm like, God bless you, because I don't have the time or the patience to do it. But there's room in a movement for that, because they're not going to convince the person that they're arguing with, but there may be somebody who sees that argument and sees a thing that's brought up and goes, I never really thought about it that way, and then they may explore it more. So there's definite room for those kind of personalities, but that's not, for me personally. I'm more, like I said, more interested in getting to know why it is people feel the way that they feel, and then just being like, okay, so we kind of want the same thing. We're just disagreeing on how best to get there and in what manner we can get there. And so that, at least when I've found, like, especially with the stuff that I do within politics and when I work, is like, okay, so let's work together on this thing where we agree both on the solution of how to get to where we want to go to. Like, we both agree that, the government shouldn't be involved in this specific thing. So let's work together on that. And even if you don't agree with it not being involved in all the other things that I don't think it should be involved in, we can work together on this one thing. And I think that's just the inroads that you have to make, just in general and in life. Like, you find those things where it's like, okay, we agree both on what the problem is and what we think the solution should be, so let's work together on that. But you can't get to that point if you can't talk with people and figure out where they're coming from and why they believe. So otherwise, if you aren't willing to have those conversations and you aren't willing to talk with people who disagree with you, then basically what you're hoping for is that your side always wins. And I think that's a very dangerous game to play. Kind of like what we were saying earlier. If you're not comfortable with this amount of power and you're not willing to have the conversations, then then things can get really bad if the other side wins. And so I just think I think we did ourselves a great disservice by saying, like, that was taboo to talk about politics. Because now we don't know how. And that idea, I think it kind of comes from an old school mentality of, like, just keeping the peace. And being polite, and, like, kids aren't allowed to talk at the dinner table type of, And you mind if we take, like, a quick pause? Oh, okay. Actually, I mean, we're about at a minute, an hour 40. Do you want to just, you want to call it?
We can. You want to finish off the hour, or do you want to?
We could do that. Yeah, we could take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're back. All right. So where were we?
All right, we're back. So when you were on my podcast several years ago, we had a very extensive conversation about the movie Aladdin.
Yeah, we did.
Did you see the new Aladdin movie?
I have not. Not.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. There's just something in there that I was really curious about.
Oh, go ahead. I don't care.
Well, at the end of the cartoon, did Aladdin become the Sultan?
Yeah, I think, right?
I think so. Well, in this movie, it's just a little different, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away to anyone else. I was just confused about it.
I mean, it's been out for a while.
That's true.
It's pretty
all right.
much
So
beyond spoiler.
Jasmine becomes the Sultan at the end of this one.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess makes sense if it's like a family inherited thing.
If it's a bloodline thing.
But I was just like, is that different? Is that different from the original?
That's a good. Oh man.
Can that happen? Can women be sultans? I mean, I guess they can now in 2019, but could they then?
Probably now. I don't even know if they can
I
now.
mean, it's
fictitious.
It's a fictitious place, so
yeah.
I suppose it could be. I mean, I don't personally have a problem with it. I just never heard of it before.
Yeah,
but no, I listened to that podcast we did, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
it was legitimately entertaining.
It was goofy. It was fun. That was the second one because remember we did a one.
Yeah, the
before
first one we
that.
did had like a buzzing in the microphone the whole time.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
Yeah, so hopefully that's not gonna. Hopefully this conversation.
Hopefully it doesn't get too loud and break the meters.
Yeah. No, that was a good time. John's super funny too. Because I think the first conversation we had, we talked about Star Wars far more than we did in the second conversation.
Yeah, true.
Which
was wrestling. You still do the wrestling thing?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
You still announce once a month or what?
Yeah. It's been a little more sparse this year. It's more like once every 2 months this year.
Okay.
Just like the dates weren't lining up as well with the Mohawk for this year, but our next one will be on the 29th of September. Yeah, man, it's super fun.
Tight.
It's a good time.
You watch that show Glow?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It's a good one. It's a really I haven't watched the newest season. I know they just put it up. I need to get to that, but yeah, it's super funny too because they'll have like real wrestlers on there, like the brothers of that one girl are real wrestlers. Like I've hung out with them before at like WrestleMania events, and like Johnny Morrison was on there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you get kind of some of the real wrestlers in there, but it's just it's a fun show. Yeah, Mark Maron is hilarious.
Yeah.
Allison Brie's great in it. She's so she does a good job. I don't know the girl's name, the one who plays Liberty Bell. I don't know her real name, but she does. I mean, they're both awesome. Yeah. And then everybody else on the cast is really good too.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I like it.
I watched the new season.
Okay, is it solid?
Yeah, it's good. I liked it.
Nice. There's always that fear that like they fall off eventually. You just don't know what season it's going to occur at. So I'm glad to hear it's not yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the same lady is like maybe a producer of the show.
Okay.
Gingy Cohen or whatever. And she's on other shows, and everyone has the same problem with all of her shows, which is where they start off really strong and then they just get insanely corny. And just bad.
Okay. Yeah, you wonder how that. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch much network TV anymore, so I don't. But it feels like corniness shouldn't still be a problem in 2019. Like when you watch Full House, I get it. Like that was the time period.
I guess not corny like that necessarily. It's just over the top characters. It's just like unrealistic and just goofy in the wrong ways type of thing.
Where like the character just like becomes a caricature of the character type
Flandersization they call it.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Yeah.
You like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Love It's Always Sunny.
What do you think about the last like 2 or 3 seasons?
So Hulu's been super far behind.
Yeah, true.
Like they recently put up a new season finally, but the last episode that they had on Hulu for the longest time was the one where Dennis leaves.
Right.
To go to, was it South Dakota or wherever his baby was. So I haven't seen
to be Brian Lefebvre.
Yeah. So I haven't seen any past those. Like I haven't watched the new season that they put on. So I liked that season. I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, see, I'm not a fan of seasons 11 through 13.
Okay.
And I've also learned that they got a lot of younger writers on the show.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the people writing it now are thinking, oh, what would Charlie say? Instead of Charlie actually being there, or Rob or Glenn, instead of them actually being there, but they still approve it and they still like it.
Yeah.
But I think they're making money and they're older now, and it makes a little bit less sense now that they're all like 40 to be just in this bar that they were in when they were like in their 20s.
For sure.
So I don't know. It just does not feel right. Something about it feels really off to me now.
I could see that for sure.
But I also feel the same way sort of about the last 2 seasons of Seinfeld. I know this is ancient history. Some kids listening might not know the show Seinfeld, but it was really big in the 90s. Well, Larry David left after season 7. So seasons 8 and 9, Larry wasn't around. And I don't know if...
I'd have to go
knowing that, if you go back and watch them, there's just this goofiness.
Yeah.
Where, to me, Seinfeld was always about, like, awkward relationships and just social things that could happen to anyone to a certain degree. Obviously, there was, like, funny characters and stuff.
Yeah.
But the last 2 seasons, they just get so over the top with the plots. It's like... Once I learned that... I probably didn't even realize that when I was younger. But the more I watched Curb and learned about Larry... and then learn that he left, and then you can see the difference. If you go back and watch it now, you might notice the difference.
I'll have to do that for sure, because like,
and it's the same factor of there's like this goofiness that's not as grounded.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. Yeah, because that's one of my favorite ones to throw on, and it's Always Sunny too. So maybe that's why I'm not picking up on this in the same way.
Yeah,
because like I'll just throw it on in the background, and like if I'm doing stuff or like kind of only half pay attention, and it's mostly episodes that I've seen, so like that's a good. Although I don't know what season it was, I really loved the Charlie Work episode.
Oh yeah,
that one was
that's great. That's season 10. I feel like season 10
that was
great.
season 10.
I love season 10.
Okay, that makes sense then. I did like the Wade Boggs one though too, where they're on the plane.
Yeah, that's also season 10.
Oh, was that? Okay, well there you go. Okay,
season 10 is really good.
That makes a lot of sense.
They got the gang group dates.
Oh, I
like that one. They got the gang misses the boat. You know, one where Dennis is trying to sell his car and it's like in the river.
He's so mad about it. This is not a starter car.
This is a finisher car. A car for dogs.
Is that the one where they move into the suburbs too?
That's in season 11.
Okay, I like that.
That's a pretty funny episode.
Like that.
Like, it's not all bad. I don't hate all of.
Oh yeah,
but in general, like okay, so season 11 it starts with Charlie McDennis 2.
Oh yeah, that
was so they like
unnecessary.
redid that, and then there's Frank falls out the window, and then they're like, "Oh no, it's 2006 again! Isn't this familiar? Didn't we already do all this?"
Yeah.
And there's just a lot, too many episodes like that where they retread over things.
Was that
in the newest season? They did the Boggs challenge, but with all the girls. I was like, come on, that was a good episode.
What girls?
Like Dee, the waitress, Artemis, and like Mac's mom. Maybe?
Like I want to see more of the waitress. You know, like I want her to be there to be made fun of. I don't want an episode like featuring her. You know. Okay. That. That's a. Yeah. You guys, and I imagine it's got to be. I mean, you're 13 seasons in, right?
Well, and if you have like these young interns now writing or whatever, they're not inside the head of those people, so they have to kind of guess.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like Pink Floyd if all the original members were gone. Or like Leonard Skinner. I went and saw them in concert when I was a kid.
Okay.
And it literally like the only original member left was one of their guitar players.
Were they the ones that had the plane crash?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So like the lead singer died and one of their guitar players and like his wife. And maybe something like that.
That's crazy.
Maybe 2 guitar players died in that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. But when I saw them, they're all like 60s, in their 60s, and the only remaining member. So it's not like if they write a new Leonard Skinner album, it's not going to sound like the actual Leonard. So it's kind of how these new shows when all the old writers are gone and new people come in. It's
that
like
makes sense.
People who are fans. It's like fan fiction. That's what it is. That's what it is.
And fan fiction usually isn't very good.
Let's see. We have what, like 10 minutes left?
13, something like that.
Have we talked about Star Wars in a while?
We haven't.
Did you like this Han Solo movie?
Meh.
If you want to get back into whatever politics we're talking about, we can. But I figure we might as well just
let's
cool
talk
off
about
it.
Star Wars.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
Anybody who listens to this gets plenty of politics, so we can get a little Star Wars in there.
Yeah. I hope no one is well, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by any of the conversation we had.
No, I don't think so at all. Yeah, I had pretty low expectations, and it didn't exceed them, but it didn't go below them. It was about what I expected the Solo movie to be. After hearing about kind of what went on with production and everything like that, I was like, okay, this isn't going to blow me away.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed in... I thought there was going to be a much better story behind the life debt that Chewie has given to Han than just like Han happened to fall into a pit that he was being held in and rescued him. Like, I thought there was going to be a much better story behind.
Is there a life debt? Is that a thing?
It's for Wookiees, it is, but I mean, I just always assumed.
I guess I didn't realize that's why they were homies.
I always assumed that's what it was. I guess it's never explicitly said, so that may just be me, like, you know, projecting onto the relationship. But I guess maybe for me it was always like, okay, Chewie hangs out with him. Predominantly if a Wookiee in the Star Wars universe, or at least like what it used to be. I don't know if it's considered canon anymore. But predominantly if a Wookiee's hanging out with another species all the time, it's because they've sworn a life debt to him.
I see.
And it's usually like if you save their life, they'll swear a life debt to you, which is a good thing to have, like a Wookiee on your side. But I was just expecting a lot cooler, more important or like meaningful story behind like how they came to be together.
That was the last Star Wars movie so far, right?
No, that was before. Oh yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was, because they kind of put everything on hold after that.
Yeah.
They're gonna take a break after 9, and there's not gonna be another one for 3 years.
What do you think? What do you think is gonna happen in Episode 9? You got predictions?
Man, I have a little bit more hope because it's JJ, but I feel like he's probably... I can't imagine he went into Episode 8 and left it and was, like, happy.
Well, I didn't think he had anything to do with Episode 8.
No, he didn't. But
right.
I think in his mind he was like, I left you so many awesome directions that you could go,
I know, man.
And you...
It's very upsetting.
Went to a fucking casino on some stupid planet.
Well, even just besides that...
Well, yeah, no.
Just the way it ended, there was nowhere to go from there.
No.
Like, when I was a kid and I first saw Empire Strikes Back, I was devastated.
Me too.
I think I was maybe 8 years old.
Dude, I was like 4 or 5.
I think I cried.
Oh,
Luke, spoiler alert, everyone. Luke got his hand chopped off. And I was like... No, like Luke was my hero, and he's like, his dad is this evil guy.
Han is in carbonite.
Oh yeah, dude, that was so dramatic.
Yeah,
I seriously felt like sick to my stomach.
Yeah,
and like, you know, my family had to reassure me. It's like, okay, it's okay. There's another movie.
Yeah, right.
We'll go watch the other movie. And then, oh yeah, you know, as soon as when Luke jumps off the diving board and
Return
back
to
up
the
and
Jedi.
gets his lightsaber, I was like,
and it's green. Oh my god, I lost my mind when it was a green lightsaber.
But there's just nothing even remotely close to that could happen in this movie.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, because
like, I don't even care anymore. I mean, also I'm 30 years old. I'm not 10, so
yeah.
That's probably another factor.
That's probably.
But the way that movie ended was like there was nowhere to go. It felt more like an end. Like
that felt like an ending.
And that makes me feel like that Ryan Johnson guy was kind of being a dick.
Yeah,
he's like, oh hey, this is my chance.
Yeah,
I better you know, I don't want to.
Because the way they did Luke pissed me off. It's like, okay, I watched an entire Return of the Jedi. I watched an entire movie where Luke was unwilling to give up on his dad, who's been just murking Jedis and younglings for decades, and he refuses to give up on him, but he has a bad dream and he's ready to murder his nephew? Like, are you kidding me? That's not character development. That's just like you don't understand the character at its core.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like, oh, we just took it in a different direction. No, that's you don't understand the character. Like,
and
that's
Mark
not me
Hamill
being
himself,
a fan.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the videos where
dude,
he was like, he's like, oh yeah, well, I guess fuck me, my character sucks.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And plus, when the Force Awakens came down, he was like, oh yeah, you know, maybe next time I'll get a speaking role. Like, so he's like, okay, finally I get to be in a movie.
Yeah.
But then this movie's called The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it feels like instead of this movie being like a good conclusion to a story that's been building, it's like now he's just got to make up for the last movie.
Yeah. Instead of being able to like,
it's almost like the way presidents go.
It kind of is.
That we came back. We came back, people. We're full circle here.
We came back to it.
It's basically like the next Democratic president is J.J. Abrams directing A Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. Yeah.
And Last Jedi is Trump.
Okay.
And Force Awakens is Obama.
Okay.
So Last Jedi is like, oh, I took this great economy, all these characters who have good stories, and I just totally drove them into the ground and made everyone hate it.
Oh my god.
And so then now the next guy has to deal with the disaster.
That movie.
And,
the one cool part, although like visually it was very awesome.
I was talking about the hype.
Yeah. But then it also is like, okay, that changes everything within the Star Wars universe for the most part.
Does it though?
But kind of. But also not. Like, okay, so what? Does it have to be a big ship to be able to have that kind of impact? Like, could you do that with an X-Wing jumping into hyperspace?
I think the size of the ship definitely is a factor.
It's interesting. Yeah, it was interesting.
That was pretty cool, though.
It was very cool. And the way that it was just silent. Like, there was no sound whatsoever.
Well, and it's like, I like the idea of trying to do something different with Star Wars, because it's like Star Wars is just sameness.
Yeah.
But so much of what people really want from it is that familiarity.
Yeah.
So it's a really delicate thing. You got to be really careful with it. But you could at least make the characters still be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the characters really
like Finn should have died.
Really?
I think so. Like, he had reached his kind of like character arc, like to go from where he started, and now he's gonna because he was like ready to run away in the Force Awakens. He's like, I don't want, to the point where he's ready to sacrifice himself. Like, let him do the sacrifice. I felt like it would have been a good
at the
closure on his arc. Yeah. Like to come to that, I felt like that would have been a good spot to close with him.
Shit pissed me off.
Yeah, it was just bad. The whole it was just
yeah.
I could talk, but have you seen the trailer for The Mandalorian?
No, I just saw that came out. I meant to watch it, but I was like, I think I was in bed when I saw that.
That looks very cool because it's the same. It's Jon Favreau, doing it, running it, and then it's the same cinematographer from Rogue One.
Okay,
and you can tell in the trailer.
Yeah.
So because I think Rogue One is by far the best of the new ones that has come out,
including Force Awakens.
Including Force Awakens, yeah.
See, I liked it. But the CGI Tarkin and Leia just made it feel like a video game to me, and it just killed me.
I get it, but I get that, but also the CGI Leia gave me goosebumps the first time I saw it. Just because it just took me back to the first time of seeing A New Hope.
Yeah,
and then especially after she died, it's very it's a very rough scene to watch.
See, part of why I love The Force Awakens is because of the whole old school approach he took, with his actual puppets and actual physical things. And I can't think of anything in that movie that just looked so stupid that it took me out of the movie. Like Last Jedi, I was like, okay, and then Leia gets frozen in space and then comes back into the ship.
Mary Poppins thing. Yeah.
That was, to me, that ruined the movie. And that was pretty early in the movie.
Oh yeah,
and there was way more that ruined the movie.
Oh yeah,
but that alone was bad. And then when the casino planet, there's some aliens there that just looks terrible. It looks like the prequels.
Yeah, it really does. And it was just, I mean, that whole it's the same thing with what they did, and part of what why I didn't like Rey in The Force Awakens, because she's definitely a Mary Sue, because it's like, okay, she heard about the Force yesterday, and now she's using Jedi mind trick on a stormtrooper when she's never used the Force before. It was kind of the same thing.
Maybe I think that she actually had been using the Force all this time, because you remember when she's just chilling, doesn't she she's cooking something, and I feel like she goes and made the food cook.
I think that's just supposed to be that technology.
Oh, I thought that she was using the Force.
I don't think it didn't strike me as her using the Force.
My impression was, and maybe I should see it again, was that she was already using the Force and just didn't really know what she was doing.
I mean, I think it could be one of those things where Han, I think Han is Force sensitive, and that's part of why he's so lucky in what he is, because he's he doesn't realize that he's using the Force.
No, I think he's just cool.
Oh, that could very well be too. But yeah, So I had a problem with that, and then it was kind of the same thing with that in Last Jedi, where it's like we've never seen Leia use the Force, and now she's going to use it to pull herself out of space, the vacuum of space.
Well, and it just looked really stupid.
Oh, it just
looked so stupid. I was like, "What are you doing?"
It looked like they were trying. Like it looked like It looked like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's like we've already seen this, and it made sense with that. It doesn't make sense here, and it looks awful. Yeah, man.
Hey, so how about to take Spider-Man out of the Marvel
for the time
universe?
being? I think what
are the implications of that? I'm not a huge Marvel
it
guy,
would,
but
it
I
would,
did see the last two movies.
It would suck for the MCU because they're kind of building up Spider-Man to be a big part moving forward and like kind of take the mantle over from Iron Man. I think it's just negotiating tactics. I think they'll get a deal worked out, but like Disney, I don't think Disney is really I can't imagine they're so unreasonable that they can't understand why Sony's like, no, we're not going to jump from a 5%, 95% split to a 50-50. Like, I can't believe that Disney as an operating business is like, oh, well, then we're done. I think Disney just wants it to get to 25-75 or something like that, and is using the public, because if they say this, people are going to lose their minds because they love the MCU and they love Spider-Man being in it, to put pressure on Sony is what my guess is what they're doing right now. But it would suck a lot. I just don't trust Sony with a solo Spider-Man franchise anymore, because as good as Spider-Man 2 was, there was Spider-Man 3, which was a disaster, and then The Amazing Spider-Man had good parts about it for sure, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not very good.
Those were the ones with not the newest
Garfield,
right?
Yeah, those were the ones with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, but that wasn't MCU, was it?
No, that was before.
That's
and so now any of the like Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home have been done under the purview of the of Kevin Feige. Like, he's been the main guy like running those, and you notice that they're both very good movies. It's Far From Home grossed over $1 billion. So
wow.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's a negotiating tactic. So I'm not getting too upset about it one way or the other. But also, like, I just realized, like, Marvel's gonna fall off too. Like, we had an incredible 10-year run with like 22 movies where 80 some odd % of them were all really good and cool to watch, and like you'll watch multiple times, and then like 20% of them were like, I saw it once and that's about all I need to see it. Like, that's a very rare thing. And then to have it culminate with like these two amazing back-to-back movies in Infinity War and Endgame, I just realized like we got very lucky and very spoiled, and we're not going to experience that again. So I just recognize, like, going forward, it's going to be more of like picking and choosing what things of Marvel I want to see. Like, they're doing a She-Hulk and a Miss Marvel thing, and I'm just like, those characters don't do it for me. I'm not very interested in what they're doing there. But they announced a Moon Knight series. Like, that could be very cool if they do it the right way. I'm excited for that. And they're doing another Blade, so that could be very cool. Obviously, Black Panther 2 and Doctor Strange 2 will be pretty sweet. They're doing a Eternals movie, which I don't know, Angelina Jolie and like a bunch of other people are in it, so that could be cool. I don't know, we'll see. So I think from this point out, it's not going to be like I want to go see every single Marvel movie at midnight like I have been through this first go.
Only ones I've seen were Infinity War and Endgame.
At all?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you like those?
But I did some research. I figured out what was going on.
But how did you like them?
I liked
as
it.
Movies. Okay.
It was never the type of thing that I was into, but when Endgame was coming out, I saw that Infinity War was on Netflix. I was like, Gabby, we should watch this. And she's like, nerd. And I was like, come on.
Yeah.
So we watched it, and it was really good.
It was, yeah.
And then I just read up on the story, to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. What was cool about it is you spend so much time with these characters, and through 20 some odd movies, and you really get to like.
I'm sure it would have meant a lot more to me if I had seen the rest of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's cool to know that like even without that.
Did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Not yet.
Oh, it's good.
I've heard it's good. I've heard mixed things, but from people I trust, I've heard it's good, so I do want to see it. Yeah, I like Tarantino a lot. I've been watching
I whenever laughing at the same thing. I just know that one of your homies was like, "Oh, dude,
Yep.
oh, it's no good, man. Tarantino's done, bro."
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, well,
but there's other people besides him too that I've heard not great things about
well,
it.
I think if you know like the history, which I didn't necessarily know, what it's like. The context of what's going on.
Yeah, like specifically like Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, I knew about like Manson and all that. Yeah. I didn't know exactly what happened though. I just knew vaguely that
fucking,
it was fake.
That's a crazy one. That's a really I actually.
But knowing that, now I want to go see it again because I saw it the first time and I didn't know like there's little details here and there that are like it's probably worth seeing again.
I want to check that out. I still haven't seen Lion King yet either. Which
it wasn't.
I've heard. Yeah,
it looks really cool, but like I'm sure you hear the same from everyone. But basically, there's no like emotion on the animals' faces.
Oh,
they just look. It looks almost like a nature documentary, which is super impressive.
Yeah,
because it looks really amazing, but like it just the drama does not really come across. And since you already know the story, I would say the original is definitely a bona fide classic, and this is like 18% as interesting.
Oh wow, okay.
Because like The Lion King, I haven't seen it in a while, but I do just remember there's a lot of very almost even psychedelic like musical numbers.
Yeah,
where there's like all these giraffe heads and they're like jumping across them.
Yeah,
like
very visually.
Oh
cool.
Yeah, very like vivid and colorful. And this was like
I remember that scene where like Scar comes out and there's like the green smoke blowing up around him.
It's sort of like you remember how after 9/11 everything was a gritty reboot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because like, our culture changed.
Everything stopped being funny and goofy. Because like late 90s, and my ultimate example of this is like, it's terrible, but that Batman and Robin movie.
That one was awful. I liked Batman Forever. I did not like Batman and Robin.
But there's something about that movie that to me is very like 2000. I think it came out in 1998, but like the year 2000 itself, culturally, is bad, dude. It's just like the mix of CGI and a lot of just Coca-Cola and Pepsi. It was all over everything, and you know what I mean? Like,
it was also like that last point of time in music where like CD sales were a real thing. So they were just throwing anything and everything out there to try to sell CDs. So like music was in a really weird place.
All the boy bands and stuff.
Yeah. Although I mean, I liked the boy bands when I was that age because I was 10. So like
I liked it for like a year, but like 2000, man, it's a weird cultural anomaly. Yeah. But then like after 9/11. It seems like everything took a real dark turn.
Yeah. And I think we've come out of it.
But this Lion King movie, just the tone of it, like the colors and everything. Because remember, like, the Batman, that they started doing a real gritty, dark Batman. Whereas the previous previous Batman franchise had been super campy, comic booky, and just like... He's like, I got a Batman credit card. Cha-ching!
Yeah. I've got bat nipples on my suit.
Bat nipples. Oh, man. Bats probably have a lot of nipples, right?
I'd imagine. Probably like 6, right?
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny if Batman had 6 nipples on his suit? That would be great. That'll be the next Batman franchise. Yeah. But anyways, this Lion King, it reminded me of those movies from back in the day where it's like, well, it has to be dark. Everything has to be dark. You know, we cannot laugh.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It did kind of... I think Marvel kind of brought us out of that a little bit. Because they like had... It was superhero movies. They were high stakes, but there was a lot of like fun and like joking and like lightheartedness in it. Even with like some of the more serious stuff they were touching on.
Man, we'll have to talk about that another day But I've always been very fascinated by how media and everything changed after 9/11 because I was 12 years old, so it's like really as soon as I became aware of the world around me, boom, and then after that everything just became paranoid.
I was 11.
Everyone became paranoid and just like kind of hopeless. Yeah, and just all that, man. It changed. 9/11 changed everything.
It did.
No, but it really did. Though.
It really did, and and that's why that's like what I got me so interested in politics too, because I was like, how did this how did this happen? Like I was I wanted to know like how could something like this happen? What caused this? and it just kind of started me down this path of being like super interested in, what goes on and like how it affects people.
Yeah.
So, man, all right.
Yeah,
so
well,
we're at about 2 hours and 10 minutes now.
Okay, all right, cool. I do have to go, but I've got a show September 6th. I think it's at Empire. It's Flavor Rate.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's solo. Flavor Rate is just me now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any?
I made music. Well, I've been involved with John for about 10 years, but really all the music that I made it myself, and then I just kind of brought him along for stage. But there's just some people grow and people move on.
Yeah.
And it's time to make a change.
For sure.
So,
Absolutely.
But Flavor Rate is still alive and well.
Okay. Cool.
It's
Cool.
just
Dope.
It's a Joe G show now.
Sounds good. Okay. So you said September 6th?
Yeah,
at Empire?
September 6th. Yeah. It's either at Empire or Parish. I think, yeah, she hasn't told me yet. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it'll be one of those. You'll see it.
Sounds good. Any other shows coming up?
Shark Rider is actually coming back the 31st of August. Our drummer is finally recovered. He was in a car wreck.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So August 31st at Swan Dive.
Nice. Okay, so a week from today.
Yep.
Cool.
And that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
man. Thanks
on,
for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. We'll have you back on at some point, I'm sure.
Next year, once some more stuff has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, y'all, and we will catch y'all later.